Hello, hello. Welcome to the Coaching Business Spotlight Show. I'm your host, Kat Connect, and today we're going to have a special guest who's going to be helping me to unpack, explore, and talk about the coaching journey. She and I have been friends, we have been colleagues, we have walked the path together, and we are going to take a look at actually what it takes to succeed. And maybe we'll take a look at some of those things that didn't work out so well for us. We'll see. My guest is Abigail Morgan Prout. She is a seasoned leadership coach, award-winning poet, and magical muse, and I can attest to this. She is the award-winning author of her poetry book, Walk Deep. And this is what she says about her book. She says, "It is a wild whisper from my soul to yours, written to inspire you to walk, feel, and create in your own life." Beautiful. And I am so happy to welcome to the show, Abigail. Abigail, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey, this is so much fun.
It is fun.
As I said, you and I have walked a path together. I mean, really, we would have to have like 100 shows to talk about all the things. When you think about, and let's look at this, like we think about the things that happened at the beginning when you and I were just starting out. And maybe I want to back up a minute. I'm going to back up a minute. So you and I have succeeded in the profession of coaching. I'm just going to say that, not like a bragging thing, but we've made it, right?
Yeah.
We decided this was going to be our career. We were passionate about it. We made a lot of mistakes. We did things, but here we are. I have a book, you have a book, you have things you're doing, groups that you're leading, you have your own business, I have mine. So I am thinking, this in terms of, okay, we made it through a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to unpack a little bit of that journey. And that's where I wanted to look like, wow, at the beginning, what were some of the things that kind of come to mind for you that helped you get here, helped us get here? Like what were some things that like, oh, without that, we would be, a statistic working a day
Mm.
job.
Mm. So like what were the things that come to mind that really kind of set us on our path to success?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know that we both work for the Coactive Institute, the Coactive Coaching Training Institute. And so, I mean, this is not a plug for them, but it is a plug for them because we met in the Coactive Leadership Program. And I really have to say that, I was a therapist for a number of years, and then I found coaching, and I kind of threw myself in wholeheartedly. And I met you in that, and I met you in that
Yeah.
program. And I have to say that that program really was the best investment I ever made in my education, in my development and professional growth. Like, it really set me on a path of a community of learning that was really different. And it was alive and changing and resourceful, but also unpredictable. And because, we met each other so long ago, like over 20 years ago, we took that program. There is an awareness that like the profession of coaching has really changed. And what hasn't changed is that if you are in this business, you have to be curious, you have to be passionate, you have to live a life that is on the edge of yourself, which means like just being willing to change and transform. And I think without that program, I don't know where I would have gotten that community that has kind of stuck with me and helped me do that.
I hear, I mean, for me, so of course we were in it together. It's like that combination. And for the people listening, like this is how Abigail and I did it. And we're just bringing this story forward because there are actually tips about how to make a success. So one is like, buckle up. Like it's an adventure. Having a coaching career, being an entrepreneur of any kind really does take being curious and flexible. All the things that we learned in leadership, also the things that we learned as coaches, about, there are these terms that they're like cliche about failing forward, I don't know. There's probably 100 of them that I don't really like them at all. You know me. I do not like to fail. I don't like it. But yeah, that's been a huge part of the journey for me is trying things out and not being afraid to fail. But the piece you put in there that feels so resonant to me is having people who have my back and having people in my life, like that community, who are like, yeah, we're doing this thing and we're doing it together and we can talk about it and we can bitch and moan about it and tell the truth about it so that we can learn from each other and find the way that's going to work for us as individuals.
I also think that there's, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about, because it's an entrepreneurial group of people, like even if you are working inside of a organization, it's still like there's a mindset that is very entrepreneurial about coaching in general.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it attracts people who are like, I don't want to, this sounds kind of weird, but self-referencing in their experience of growth. Like there's a lot of autonomy and authority, like self-authority that's given. If you're going to make it in this game, you have to give yourself a lot of permission to know what you know and move it forward.
I want to just stop there. I want to stop there because that seems really important. I mean, really important. Like, you can't just be, I don't know what word, like, man, but you can't just be, oh, maybe, I kind of think, no, you absolutely have to know what you know and stand for what that is.
Yeah.
And put that into what we call the marketplace, right? Put that out there so that other people, I'm curious about this, Abigail, like, so other people will also know that's possible for them.
Yeah.
Is my thinking.
For sure. Yeah. Like so much of coaching, I feel like, we're helping the client to unpack, what they know, but there's also a huge amount of modeling that's happening. And all of the coaches that I've hired, and that's a lot of coaches in the last 20 years, have had something that I've been inspired by. And this is like getting to this point of like being inside of a community that, we are entrepreneurial and in some ways competitive, but we've learned how to take the paradigm of competition and like really get the best out of it and engage with each other from a place of inspiration. Like your successes, like, and I really feel this with you personally. It's like your successes, I could go into an old paradigm of compare and despair and be like, oh, she's doing this and I'm not doing this, and or like hold up people and make it less, activate my saboteurs. But instead, because this community is so all for one, and we're like, we're raising consciousness together. You do it your way, I'll do it my way. Your success is my success. And I'm here to champion you and cheer it on and learn from you. Like, and we've learned so much from each other in the past 20 years. Oh my gosh.
Oh, I know. And I love how you're putting that. And I know there have been times you've been doing things too. I'm like, oh, that looks like so fun. Oh, I wish I could do that. And it really is that perspective, that going, yeah, isn't that cool? Because if there's something Abigail's doing that I want to do, well, let's find out how she did it. I'll figure out my version of it. Let's talk about it. Let's unpack it. So there's a way you just put that. So there is this kind of positive competition, right? There is this way of going, oh, another person's doing something that looks fun to me. It's not a, what is it? That the phrase just went out of my head. Zero sum game. Right? There's that zero sum game, which was, if Abigail has it, then I can't have it. If she has an award-winning book, my book will never win an award. That's just not going to happen. Right? Which, when I say that, it sounds so ridiculous, but that's how it goes on in our heads.
It does. It does. And it's funny that you bring that up because, well, I just have to throw my book in here. Like, look at how pretty it is. The award-winning book. But the first award, this is one in a couple of different awards, but the first award that this book won was the Homebound Poetry Prize Award. And at the end of COVID, well, during COVID, I spent the first year just walking in the woods and writing poetry. And that was my way to stay sane. And I just threw my, my work in just because it was something to do and it was a challenge, and it was helping me to, kind of honor my commitment to getting my creativity out there. And when I found out that I won, it was just like this boon, and it started this, like rolling out of, like, as you know, like publishing a book and then promoting the book and everything. But last fall, I was fortunate enough to be able to go and spend a week at the Omega Institute in
Oh,
Rhinebeck, New
yeah.
York. And
It's a fun
I was
place.
there to be in the presence of an amazing poet named Padraig O'Toole. And he has a wonderful podcast, and it's called Poetry Unbound. But I met this woman during that week that I was at this poetry retreat, and she was a published author, but she was like, I don't know how to get my next book of poetry published. Like she really wanted something different. And I was like, you should apply. You should throw your name in for this
Wow.
contest. I won it. You can win it. Like, your work is so great. And she did, and she won. I just found
Wow.
out last
Oh my
week that
gosh.
Jenny
Oh,
Nobleton like
that
just won, and it was so excited to
I
know
love
that
that.
my inspiration
Hmm.
actually forwarded her
Yep.
success.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yes.
And that's how it goes, especially if you stay open to your intuition, you keep your heart open about it, you stand for yourself. So this isn't about like, I'm going to just be there for other people,
Yeah.
but you stand there in service. And there's something that you said I want to underline as well around how we support each other.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned, so we have coaches. You and I have had lots of coaches. I don't know how a person can succeed without that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel has been helpful to you as far as getting help? I'm just going to put that one out.
Mm-hmm.
Like getting help, getting support. If you think about, because you just talked about
Mm-hmm.
a way, I believe we do it. It's kind of like a being of service mindset or a championing of other people
Mm-hmm.
and being open to that from them. This is like coming to me now. It's like part of how we get help, we ask for it, but there's
Mm-hmm.
also like knowing that having other people help us is a part of the natural and a positive experience for everybody
Mm-hmm.
involved. It's not like a taking. Again, it's not the zero sum game. It's not like I'm going to ask for help. And so therefore it's going to take something from somebody else. It's like, no, actually, this is how
I
we all
know.
connect and how we all get to bring our thing.
Well, and I was actually thinking about it. One of the thoughts that I had when I woke up this morning was this play on, like, giving is receiving, because when
Mm-hmm.
you give something, you are also receiving the gift of, like, your generosity. And like, there's a lot that's given, like, that's received by you when you give a gift, but the reverse is also true. When you receive, you give the gift of being received by somebody else, and that is such a powerful gift. And I feel like
Wow.
the biggest places that I have, like, really received support is so sometimes we know what the support is that we need. Sometimes we're clear about it and we have a hit or an insight or, like, clarity about, like, oh, I need some help with strategy, or I need some help with
Hmm.
visioning, or I need some help with this saboteur that's just blocking me, or whatever. Or I need some help with networking, whatever the specific thing is. And then you can scan, who does that really well, or who you have a relationship with that could help you. And then just reaching out to ask for that specific help, and maybe how can they direct you. If it's not themselves that they are
Yeah.
resourceful enough to offer at that moment, or have the time or the bandwidth to offer, then they can point you towards the thing that they use or whatnot. But sometimes we don't know what we're asking for. We just know that we're blocked.
And there are those times. It's kind of like, I don't know what I don't know. What do
Yeah.
you do when you don't know what you don't know? Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
blocked, or there's something I know that's going to make this all work, but I can't think of what it is.
Yeah.
That's when a lot of people give up. When they
Yeah.
can't, right? I want to just put this in there because this is the coaches I work with, they feel ashamed. They feel like they're
Mm-hmm.
stupid. They feel like they should know things. And so they just keep quiet about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't get the help that they need. And this is where I think that one of the biggest failures, if I really were to name what a true failure is, it's when you know you need something. Either you know it specifically, like you were saying, or you don't. and you don't have that courage and vulnerability to just put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if this is where you were going, but this is what happens in my coaching groups with the coaches I work with. I think of this as a very feminine way of giving and receiving. People, they just talk about it. We just come on
Yeah.
these calls and people just talk about it. They just say, here's the thing. And I don't really know, but here's the vision I have around it. And here's the thing I'd like it to go to. And somehow through the conversation, the answers emerge.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody gets an insight. It might not be the person who had the question. Somebody over here goes, oh my gosh, I just talked with somebody yesterday who like did this thing, and I will hook you up with them. Just like you and the poetry. It's like we have this collective resources.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the way I know that's best
Mm-hmm.
to access them, is just to talk about it, to
Yeah.
put out there where we really are, what we're struggling with, or what our dream is, and be willing to just put it there without having the answers, without knowing what we're doing, and without needing to look good about any of it.
Yeah. And, I think that there's the resources on the human level, which is reaching out to the groups of, resourceful humans that we know and just say, hey, yeah, I've got this issue, or I've got this question, or I'm blocked in this way. Does anyone have any, like any ideas or advice, or, anything? I'll take
Right?
anything.
Or there are days like that, right? And
Yeah.
if we go back to our past, Abigail, I think we had a lot of days like that
We had
where
a
we just
lot of
call
days
each
like
other up
that.
and we would just be like, okay, I'll take anything. Just give me a little
Totally.
bit, give me a rope, a little bit of
Well, and
hope.
I think that rope, like, let's just like zoom in on the rope that you're talking about, because the rope is actually championing. Like, if we look at the coaching skills that we use, it's actually the belief somebody else out there, and we've leaned in on each other many times for this rope, but like someone else out there really believes in me. They
Yes.
believe in me more than I'm believing in myself right now. And those are the people to reach out to when you're needing some support, because you've lost your own rope. You're just in free fall,
Play off, or whatever that term is.
Right. And it's not safe. It's not safe to not be on a rope with somebody. So that's one way. And then the other way is like really leaning into the more than human experience, which is a lot of my work now is like really pivoting towards working with nature and, the more spiritual realms, about like, how do we actually ask for help, and how do we receive help from the, like beyond the human experience.
Yeah.
And those are, talking about different skill sets, because asking for help from a human is very different than asking for help from a tree, or from a forest, or from a, like your personal guides or whatever.
And I think the similarity is in the trusting that there's something there that you can receive that will support you. Like having that trust, having that, okay, I'm going to open, because I don't know, you tell me what you're thinking, because I don't think it works if we're closed, if we're just like, I don't really know. I don't think there's anything out there for me. I think this all sounds like a bunch of hogwash. And then it's like, then that channel is actually closed.
Yeah.
That receiving channel.
Yeah. And I think that, there's something about, I was working with a client the other day, and she was starting to reframe her physical pain, or her physical discomfort, I should say, because she was expressing and describing this form of nausea that comes over her when she's like feeling overwhelmed or confused, or not sure, uncertain. And this form of nausea would come over her, and instead of holding it as a problem, like to really do the work of reframing the discomfort that we're experiencing as an invitation to go into it. And, we talk about this in terms of process work, or being with that which is uncomfortable. But like, if we can start to really reframe those places where we're feeling confused, frustrated, irritated, like stuck, or like physically uncomfortable as an invitation to turn towards and get curious about. And it's a lot easier said than done, but it is really good work to start to pivot and to reframe those things, because as soon as she can, like, now that she's identified her nausea as a invitation, it's changing her relationship with it. It's actually becoming, her body is now an ally for her learning.
I love that. And I want to bring that to the listeners who are entrepreneurs, because this applies. Absolutely. I think this is, and I think this is actually the pivotal move that entrepreneurs need to make. And coaches, I actually think coaches have they have the special skills to be able to do this, but they don't often think in terms of that. Okay, this is making me uncomfortable putting my message out in the marketplace or needing to make a sale. And then it becomes all about something outside. It's because it's this and that. It's because marketing's blah, blah, as opposed to what you're saying. Actually, take a minute, get quiet. Yeah, lean into it. What is it telling you? What's really there? There's a whole magic in that.
There is a
And I want
magic.
to bring in this other piece though, because it's just coming to me. Because this happened. This happened to Curtis and I in our business when 3 years ago we were just launching a group, and we were having this really big success. And another organization was also launching, and it's kind of like the siphoned off. That's how it felt to me. I don't want to get victim about it, but like siphoned it off. And there was a moment when I really wanted to feel sorry for myself and say, look at that. It's just not going to work for me. It works for that person. They're better than I am. They have some better marketing strategy. But I did exactly what you just talked about. I really leaned into it. And what I heard, I didn't necessarily like, because it was something to the tune of, that's not your thing. That's not even right for you. Like, look at how wonderful that got taken away, because it was not going to work for you.
Yeah.
So here, and just then some new clues to kind of go down a different path that's worked out really, really well for me. But it was that moment of like pivoting, of really going, okay, this is not about some outside force that I don't know about. It's actually something I need to go inside and get information about.
Well, and having, being inside of a community, like whatever your community is, whether that's a professional community or a spiritual community or a family community that's actually holding growth as something that you're wanting, like actually honoring the value of learning. Like, we can talk about it until the cows come home, like, oh, I'm a lifelong student or whatever. But the truth is like, how open are we? And I'm pointing at myself here too. It's like, how open am I to actually learning a new way to do things?
Yeah.
And
Out in public, like a new way of doing things that people are
yeah,
going to see, that might have an impact
yeah,
on how you make money, on
right.
how you live your life, a big piece of your career.
And it's so funny because we know that we learn through, a lot of our learning and a lot of our modeling comes through empathizing with people who are crashing and burning and telling us all about it. Like, we
That's
love
right.
it. We love to hear
Yeah.
about what went wrong and what they learned, because it gives us a model of how to do it. But to do that ourselves, to actually offer the story of how we crashed and burned, or what we learned from the thing that failed, or how we're learning from the experience that's not going very well, even to ourselves, even sharing that with ourselves, it's an edge, it's radical, and it requires a level of not being attached, of self-forgiveness, and of faith that it's actually going to turn into something that's valuable for myself and the world.
And I'm going to bring us like a little full circle. And that's why we need each other. Right? What you just said, because that's hard. That can be a really hard place to be. Like, just that place of telling yourself, like, wow, I just screwed that up. Or that went south. Didn't work out at all how I wanted it to. Now, lots of people know about this. Ouch.
Mhm.
That's hard to do when you're sitting all by yourself in your office. And that's where, again, I think people really get hopeless. But if you have somebody you can talk to about it, if you have a community, if you have a coach, right? Somebody who's, like you said, actually going to champion you and believe in you and be able to hear that and not try to fix it and not try to save you, because that's the other piece. And I hear a lot of coaches I work with, they say to me, Kat, I just want somebody to do this for me. I
Mhm.
just want somebody to do it for me. And I'm like, wait, that's great. You can have somebody like do the tactical pieces for you, but they can't do the inside piece for you, where you have to have that,
No.
or there's nothing anybody can do.
Well, and I don't think, back to this place of like success, like that question of like, what is a successful
Mhm.
coach these days? I I really like there's the metrics around money and around, like visibility and, impact out there in the world. And there are all those metrics which are incredibly important, but also important is, are you in it for the learning for yourself? Because
Mm.
you cannot do this job. And we've been in this job. I've been in this job for over 25 years as a professional coach.
Mhm.
There is no way you can continue to do this work and not grow. And I can
Oh,
absolutely correlate the times that I've had the most growth with the most financial success. Like the times that I'm like crashing and burning are directly correlated. And how much I share about my learning is directly correlated to
wow.
how much success I eventually bring out.
So there's a tip. Now, you might not want to hear this tip that Abigail just gave. You might want to, like, I can see people right now running away, like turning it off. Like, I don't, that is not how I would like it to be. But it's like, this is absolute truth. It's absolute truth. Those moments, crash, burn, things are whatever. But it requires that piece you said. And there's something else I want to make sure that we get in here. It requires, actually leaning into it. And there's something that you and I share, and we've shared it since the beginning, which is really trusting our visions
Mhm.
and having a vision. I feel like it's like an ally for me when I really have a vision, not just of the like you said, like the money and the people, but actually more of a vision of how I want to be living in my life and how I want to be impacting people and what's the experience of being fully expressed. And I have that really, really clear what I'm here to do. Then all that failure and all that crashing and burning, it's just like, and it makes the learning, it gives the learning a context,
Mhm.
that bigger picture. Like I'm learning these things to bring this vision to life.
Mhm.
And the learning is important and it's essential. And the vision is what pulls me forward.
Mhm.
I'm curious how you would put that, like how that's worked for
Well,
you.
I mean, vision is such an interesting thing because I feel like we have the possibility to be connected to many different timelines. Like I have had many powerful visions of my future and they change over time. And like they change. Some things remained somewhat familiar, but a lot of my visions have shifted a lot. Like as I've stepped into writing and being, a writing coach and someone who is really encouraging and championing people to kind of come into their creativity through the
Mhm.
written word, my vision for my work has really pivoted
Yeah.
because I'm in alignment with a different vision. Like it's almost like you're walking on a beautiful path in the woods and you take a different path. You're still in the woods. You're still in the beautiful woods. You're still inside of the same weather and climate structure, but it's unfamiliar and you might be going to a different destination. And so like visions change over time. And I think they can be really strong allies. And it's the essence of, you and I know this, but I really just want to speak to this for people who are coming into their relationship with a vision. It's the essence of the vision. It's not the details of the
That's right.
vision. You cannot get attached to the
Not
to the
attached.
to the
We need
how.
them, right? We
You
need them to
can't.
kind of keep us juiced up. There is an essence, because as you were talking, Abigail, knowing you so well, I'm like, that essence is still there. having talked with you and worked with you and visioned with you, I'm like, I feel and see and sense that essence. And it's just one thing you've been able to do is what you're saying is to keep, like, it's an alive vision. Keep tuning into it, see what it's saying, see what the clues and the urges are that are coming through you in that as you walk that path in that forest. But always
Yes.
having this something bigger than the we like what's happening today, having something bigger that you're moving towards.
Yeah. Yeah. And I do think that, it's that quote, let the pull of, what is that? Let the pull of what you love.
It's a really good quote.
That's a good quote. I
Come
can't
on,
quote
somebody
it
who
like
has it.
somebody. Anyways, it's like, let the pull of what you
Oh, look it
truly
up.
love be, what pulls you forward or what you do. And it feels like that keeps changing because we are not static. We develop, we change, life happens, people die, people are born, we move, we change, we get divorced, we get married, we have children, they leave. Like, it's all these things are changing us, and we are sensitive, changeable beings, and we're absorbing all of the information that's in the system, in the social systems, in the environmental systems, and things are changing rapidly. So we're downloading a whole bunch of information right now. And so, of course, our vision is going to be altering and speeding up to accommodate those changes in us. And so, if you're feeling, I just want to put a call out there. It's like, if you're feeling disconnected from a really resonant, powerful, moving, passionate vision right now, it might be time for a refresh. Like, just hit refresh and reach out to somebody who can help you vision, because there are so many of us, and it's easy for us to champion you. And you might be able to do this for somebody else, but it's harder to do for yourself, which is so true. I mean, how many times have I called you and been like, Kat, I need some help visioning, and you'd be like, no problem, I got your rope.
Let's do it.
Yeah, totally.
So if you're listening and this sounds like you, reach out, find someone to help you get that vision. So when you face those challenges, those learning edges, those places that are really hard to be with, and also I want to say, and I want to get to, because it's almost time for us to wrap up here. Also, when things are going really, really well, it's so fabulous to feel that truth of your vision becoming a reality and to have somebody in your corner. I appreciate you being in my corner, Abigail, so much.
You got it, sister. Woo-hoo! Always.
So we're getting ready to wrap up here. I'd love for you to tell the listeners you have something that you're up to right now and how they might find out about that, what it is, and how they can find out about it.
Yeah. So I have two websites. One is Abigail Prout, and then the other one is Spiral-Leadership. So Spiral Leadership, and that's like a feminine leadership program that I've been rolling out into the world for the last 7 years. And both of these are places that you can find more information about these programs that I've gotten. So I have two that are really clear to me right now. One is a retreat, a poetry retreat. It's called The Medicine of Poetry. And it's all about how those of us who are attracted to poetry, either we read it, we listen to it, we write it, or all three. We just like to be in the presence of the poetic form. I wanted to offer a very specific retreat for those of us who respond to that type of structure. Beautiful. And that's going to be on Lopez Island in October. So October 11th through the 15th. And then I'm also offering a longer 4-month writing program that starts in January and goes to April, and has a retreat at the end of it on Lopez Island, where I'm from. And it's all about reconnecting to the writer within, because so many of us have lost the power and trust of the written word in ourselves. And it's just really important to reclaim it.
I don't know of anybody who I would trust more with that than you, Abigail.
Oh, thanks, Kat.
So I'm just going to say, Abigail, one of the best coaches on the planet, good friend, writer extraordinaire, so many things.
Thank you, Kat.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, and I have loved every minute of it.
So much fun. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Coaching Business Spotlight. It was a good one, right? I hope you enjoyed it. For more tips, notes from this episode, if you want to find out more about anything that we've talked about, if you are a coach and you're interested, you want to do something with your writing, we gave you a great place to get help with that. You can find us at souldrivensuccess.com, Facebook, LinkedIn. Be sure to subscribe so that you can join us again. And I welcome questions and suggestions for upcoming shows because I believe that all voices should be heard. That's what makes a big conversation. Talk to you next time. Bye.